Warning: Archangel Michael says your miracle check has been released. Open it now before it's redirected elsewhere. Heaven's accountant is stunned by your overflowing balance. My child, you will feel the soft opening of something that has been waiting for you, though you once thought it was gone. Imagine, for a moment, a quiet room in heaven, and seated at a long wooden table is an accountant, not of numbers, but of every unseen seed you ever planted. He has been keeping record, not with ink, but with memory, intention, and grace. Listen closely, because the story he holds is tender. He leans forward, almost in awe, as the pages turn, because what you believed expired was merely paused, waiting until your heart could hold what was meant to stay fully strong. You wondered why blessings seemed withheld. You wondered why doors shook but would not open. Yet beyond your sight, deposits were made. Not deposits of money, but of time redeemed, favor restored, dignity returned. The accountant has watched every moment you kept walking even when silence was loud. He watched you pray even when answers hid behind delays. And now, my dear one, the balance before you is not a number. It is a release. Stay with me. Soon, you will understand what has quietly accumulated for you. The accountant is not rushing. Heaven never panics. You were not late. Nothing slipped away. What you called expiration was simply maturation. A fruit ripening slowly. A promise held in trust. There was a season when you pleaded for immediate resolution. You wanted closure, clarity, confirmation. Yet heaven knew that a premature opening would have overwhelmed you. What good is a door unlocked if the foundation beneath your feet is shaking? What good is fulfillment if the vessel is not ready to hold it? So your blessing was sealed, not withheld. It was stamped, not denied. And the accountant waited, knowing peace would come. Breathe gently now. You stand at a threshold of emotional readiness. In the quiet corners of your spirit, strength has been forming. Your heart has become softer, not weaker. Your faith has become steadier, not louder. And the accountant's gaze brightens, as though seeing something unfold at last. Imagine him turning to you, smiling. Not with urgency. Not with pressure. Simply with recognition. He opens a symbolic envelope, and within it is clarity, restoration, assurance. Not lightning. Not noise. Not spectacle. But peace. The kind you recognize before you can explain it. Soon, it will feel like something settles into place. A reconciliation within yourself. A remembering of worth. The accountant closes the ledger, not because it is empty, but because it is ready. The transfer is emotional, spiritual, relational. And when you receive it, it will not crash into you. It will settle, like morning light across calm water. And when it settles, you will not reach in fear. You will reach in awareness. You will say, "I am ready," and heaven will agree. The accountant will nod, satisfied, because nothing was lost, nothing was wasted, and everything has arrived gently in peace. Take a slow breath now, my dear one, and allow your shoulders to soften gently as the air enters. Let it move through you like warm light, not rushing, not straining, simply arriving with quiet confidence. You have carried so much, sometimes without realizing how heavy it became, and your body remembers every moment. So inhale again, deliberately, like a soft invitation granted to yourself, and feel your chest expand with room. Let the breath slow the restless noise, the scattered thoughts, the unfinished endings that kept looping inside. For just a moment, there is nothing to solve, nothing to repair, nothing to defend, only presence. Stay here. Notice the stillness resting beneath your ribs, like a gentle cushion that once felt unreachable. Let the exhale release what trembled inside your voice, the words you protected, the tears you swallowed. Peace is not a demand, it is permission, a doorway opening when you stop forcing everything to make sense. Let your breath be your agreement with softness. Feel your shoulders lower, feel your stomach release its tension, feel your jaw unclench without apology. Your breath becomes a messenger, reminding you that slowness is not weakness, stillness is not invisibility. Inhale again, deeper, steadier, as though you are receiving something tender. Warm air touches your lungs like a blessing, and the quiet inside expands. Stay with this sensation. Imagine your heart receiving a gentle robe of comfort, wrapping around the places still healing. Every inhale gathers strength, every exhale releases old expectations. Let your ribcage widen slightly, not dramatic, simply honest, and feel space forming where tightness once lived. The world once demanded urgency, but grace requires calm. Noise demanded decisions, but peace asks for awareness. And awareness begins right here, in this breath, this moment, this stillness. Feel a little warmth behind your eyes, not sadness, but relief, because something is unclenching. Your body knows what peace feels like. It remembers softness even when your mind forgets. So breathe again, intentionally, almost ceremonially, as if the breath itself is restoring your dignity. Let your palms loosen, let your shoulders settle, let your heart beat slow without resistance. There is safety here, not earned, not negotiated, simply given. Let your breath guide you gently into this inner room, where heaviness dissolves and clarity sits patiently. You are not behind, you are not late, you are simply arriving. Arriving inside yourself, arriving into peace, arriving into what has been waiting quietly. And as your breath steadies, a quiet knowing forms, you are safe to soften, safe to release, safe to rest. Hold that awareness now, not tightly, but honestly, and allow it to settle without explanation. Your body will remember this calmness, and it will draw you back whenever noise tries to return. Take one last deep breath, and feel how different it lands, fully inside you, carrying recognition. What once felt distant is already near, and you are gently opening toward it. And soon, peace will speak again, softly but unmistakably, returning. When you felt emptied and stretched thin, you wondered whether heaven had overlooked you, as though the account of your strength had reached zero. Yet the truth, beloved one, was never depletion, but redirection, an unseen support system that gathered behind you like quiet provision. When you waited, not knowing why doors stayed closed, patience was cultivating resilience. When you carried disappointment, believing the loss was yours alone, grace was protecting what needed more time to mature. When you reached for clarity and received uncertainty, Heaven was guiding you into deeper trust rather than hurried resolution, because hurried resolution might have weakened what was still forming. You know those moments when you spoke confidently to others, while trembling internally, hoping nobody could hear the wobble inside your voice? They were not signs of insufficiency, they were signs of becoming. You felt overdraft emotionally, relationally, spiritually, as though every investment you offered returned nothing. Yet deposits were forming beneath every surrender. When you forgave without receiving apology, heaven recorded the release. When you stayed kind in the presence of misunderstanding, integrity multiplied itself quietly. When you chose humility instead of resentment, dignity began anchoring you from within, even though you could not measure it then. There were days when you wanted something immediate, something loud, something undeniable. Perhaps closure, perhaps clarity, perhaps reconciliation. But life handed you silence, and silence felt like abandonment. Stay here gently. Silence was not emptiness, silence was incubation. Your heart was refining its capacity to discern peace, not panic. That is why sudden blessings could not arrive prematurely. Heaven never deposits what your soul cannot sustain without fracture. A gift extended too soon would have exhausted you rather than fulfilled you. When you wiped tears privately, believing no one noticed, heaven noticed. When prayers felt unanswered, they were being rerouted toward timings fortified by wisdom rather than haste. When you kept showing up, still loving, still believing, still offering what you had left, every moment became a ledger entry of endurance, not depletion. Your life was accumulating quiet strength, spiritual interest, emotional clarity. Yes, you felt overdraft. But overdraft did not represent deficit, it represented expectancy. A space clearing. A vessel expanding. An account waiting for adequate deposits of peace so that your heart would not spend itself again too quickly. You were learning discernment, learning pacing, learning sacred boundaries. And now, as you breathe, awareness rises. You did not run out, you were preserved. You did not fail, you were recalibrated. Protection often resembles loss before clarity translates it into alignment. What you perceived as overdue was simply pending. Soon, you will look back at that season and recognize how supported you truly were, not urgently, not dramatically, but intentionally. Something held you when you could not hold yourself. Something replenished you while you slept. And the days once called empty were storing strength you now carry with quiet assurance. And this strength is not loud, not restless, but steady. It belongs to you now without striving, without proof, without apology, because every deficit has become depth, and every waiting has matured into wisdom. There are moments when you looked back at your life and felt a quiet ache, believing something slipped through your fingers for good. A relationship, an opportunity, a season of joy that once felt reachable. Yet what you called loss was never disappearance, it was preservation. Nothing was discarded. Nothing vanished. It was held in trust, safeguarded until alignment was strong enough to support it. And though confusion accompanied those pauses, divine choreography was already arranging what needed to arrive intact rather than fractured. Think of a blessing like a delicate garment. When the thread is unfinished, wearing it too soon causes unraveling. That is how heaven treats the things meant for permanence. When you prayed for clarity and received stillness, it was not silence, but sealing. When you asked for immediate restoration and nothing responded, it was not rejection, but safeguarding. In time, you will see that the blessing required more maturity, yours, theirs, or the timing surrounding both. What was not ready could not collapse into your hands, because you were destined to receive something sustainable. Consider the seasons where someone walked away, or a path dissolved unexpectedly. You assumed the chapter had closed. Yet what you loved was simply removed from premature exposure. What you needed was preserved from mishandling. Blessings do not disappear, they incubate. They wait until hearts soften, motives purify, and environments stop shaking beneath your feet. Stay close now, because something significant is still forming. There is a moment of release approaching, not loud, not forced, but perfectly timed. You will not need to grasp or chase. Your spirit will simply recognize what belongs when it returns, because peace will confirm it before logic does. And peace never arrives early, it arrives when readiness settles like evening light across calm water. When life felt scattered, heaven was sorting. When pieces fell apart, heaven was gathering what matched. You feared absence, but absence created space. You feared delay, but delay created grounding. Blessings set aside are not blessings denied. They are blessings refined. Held where time cannot erode them, guarded from misalignment, shielded from misuse. You assumed you were forgotten, when in truth, you were being prepared for preservation rather than consolation. God's love does not offer temporary replacements just to fill silence. Divine orchestration waits until the gift can remain, not merely visit. And though frustration once visited your heart, it was not evidence of abandonment, it was evidence of capacity stretching wider. Soon, when the release unfolds, you will recognize it not through drama, but through familiarity. A soft knowing. A confident peace. A quiet fit. Something that feels like home without explanation. And you will whisper, almost in disbelief, that nothing was lost after all. The blessing simply stayed protected while you matured into its keeper. And when it settles before you, you will not cling with fear of losing it. You will hold it gently, because it finally arrives in wholeness. It was never gone. Only held in trust, waiting for alignment to become undeniable. When you imagine a check placed gently into your hands, do not picture numbers, signatures, or bank stamps. Picture instead a document of peace, issued not from earthly accounts, but from a place where restoration is held without risk. This check is not currency that can fade, it is reassurance, clarity, and permission to rest. Archangel Michael stands not as a collector, but as a witness, acknowledging what has been reinstated within you. He extends what was always yours, yet you could not receive it when your heart was still trembling, still doubting its worthiness. So the blessing waited, sealed, preserved, untouched by impatience. There was a time when you felt empty, drained, uncertain of what remained. Yet emptiness was only space being cleared so fullness could return without confusion. When peace finally deposits into your heart, it will not spill or scatter, it will anchor. You will feel it settle beneath your ribs like warm water filling a vessel that once cracked. You will remember what steadiness feels like, not loud, not urgent, but sure. And this certainty will not depend on circumstances, it will rise from within you with quiet authority. Imagine Michael unfolding that check, not rushing, not insisting, simply offering. On the lines where amounts would normally sit, your restored confidence appears. Where due dates would be printed, your renewed dignity stands instead. Where signatures should be, you find the imprint of alignment. And you realize that peace has been written into you, not as a temporary gift, but as something transferable into every area of your life. Relationships settle. Thoughts calm. Boundaries strengthen. You become aware of choices that nourish rather than drain you, and your spirit no longer negotiates with what diminishes it. What returns to you is not merely comfort, but clarity. When peace finally deposits into your heart, you will recognize it by ease. You will not chase, you will allow. You will not tighten, you will soften. You will not second guess, you will trust. And this trust will not be blind, it will be informed by all you have lived through, by every moment you rose again when you felt emptied. The check is symbolic, yet its effects are real, because spiritual deposits always manifest as grounded presence. Calm becomes your new currency, and rest becomes your confirmation. So breathe now and accept what was returned. Let the symbolic check remind you that peace belongs to you without transaction. You do not earn clarity, you allow it. You do not grasp confidence, you embody it. And as you feel that fullness taking shape, you can rest, knowing nothing fragile is being handed back to you. It is solid, enduring, rooted. And when it arrives fully, you will not ask whether you deserve it. You will simply say, "This piece fits," and heaven will agree. You will move differently, not with haste, but with settled steps. Conversations will feel clearer. Choices will stop wobbling. Sleep will deepen. And you will stand in rooms that once felt overwhelming and notice nothing inside you shakes. That steadiness is your reinstated peace, the very blessing once held in trust, now placed back into your keeping softly. Sometimes, divine reassurance arrives wrapped in disguise, appearing through the simple spaces you almost overlook. A song plays unexpectedly, and one lyric echoes like a message written only for you. A number sequence flashes on a receipt, on a clock, on a passing sign, and something inside pauses, not with tension, but with recognition. A dream lingers longer than others, carrying a warmth that feels like healing rather than confusion. These are not guarantees, not contracts, not deadlines pressed against your spirit. They are gentle statements, soft confirmations that you are not abandoned inside your journey. If this resonates, stay a moment longer. You are guided more often than you realize. Not through thunder, not through spectacle, but through subtleties that align with your inner knowing. There are times when your heart feels a quiet tug, something like a whisper saying, "Pay attention here," not because you must act urgently, but because peace wants to introduce itself again. When the right message crosses your path, when a phrase repeats in your awareness, when a memory resurfaces without prompting, these moments are not random. They are spiritual highlighters, emphasizing what your soul is already processing. There is a difference between chasing signs and receiving them. Chasing comes from fear, from insecurity, from rushing to decode what has not yet ripened. Receiving comes from stillness. You notice what arrives without demanding more than it offers. You let the symbol speak softly. When numbers repeat, they are not warnings, they are alignment cues. When dreams return, they are not puzzles begging for urgency, they are reflections of what your heart is ready to release or welcome. Peace always interprets for you. There will be mornings when you wake with clarity, even without knowing why. A decision will feel lighter than it used to. A conversation you were dreading will seem manageable. A memory that once hurt will soften. These are divine statements too. Not spoken, yet fully understood. Heaven often repeats peace before it repeats instruction. When something is meant for you, it does not pull you by force. It settles, like a calm presence filling a room. You may notice synchronicity in timing. A message arrives right after you prayed quietly. A sentence in a book mirrors what you journaled the night before. Someone reaches out with the exact reassurance you did not know how to request. Do not rush to interpret. Simply receive. Let the meaning grow at its own pace. When signs are authentic, they expand slowly, not dramatically. They confirm peace rather than generate panic. They feel familiar, not foreign. Hold your awareness gently. Notice the soft alignment rather than forcing certainty. You will recognize what belongs by the peace beneath it. You will recognize direction by the absence of pressure. The divine does not confuse, it settles. And soon, you will see that what seemed ordinary was actually sacred, repeatedly reaching for you through everyday moments, offering reassurance rather than urgency, guiding you without demanding you run. There will be moments when something appears promising at first glance, and your heart wants to leap forward immediately. But discernment begins not with speed, but with breath. Peace is the measure, not excitement alone. Panic pushes, peace settles. When guidance is genuine, it will not demand urgency, it will invite clarity. You will not feel cornered, you will feel steadied. Pause long enough for truth to rise through calmness rather than impulse. When you sense pressure, let it pass through you before you decide. When you sense ease, allow it to rest inside you without rushing. Peace does not shout, it aligns. There were times you accepted less because panic said time was running out. You feared missing out, feared being alone, feared making the wrong choice. But when something is right, it does not collapse under waiting. You will not have to negotiate your worth or shrink to be chosen. Discernment protects dignity. Discernment slows reactive decisions. Discernment honors mutual consent, emotional readiness, and shared respect. Ask yourself gently, does this expand me or drain me? Does my chest tighten or loosen when I imagine stepping into it? When something is meant, peace arrives first, evidence second. Sometimes clarity shows up as stillness. If a situation elicits urgency, manipulation, or guilt, step back, breathe, and test it again. The divine does not trap you into decisions. Safe alignment gives space. Safe alignment deepens rather than destabilizes. The people aligned with you will not punish you for reflecting, they will welcome your thoughtfulness. Anything that requires you to abandon your own emotional safety is not guidance, it is strain. Discernment honors balance rather than collapse. Test your direction by how it treats your peace. If you feel yourself losing authenticity just to keep something intact, pause. If your voice lowers to avoid conflict you once tolerated, pause. If your energy fades every time you engage, pause. Discernment listens to what your body says long before your mind explains it. A steady heart does not tremble into decisions, it chooses them. Mutual consent matters. Shared timing matters. Emotional maturity matters. You are not meant to walk into anything unprepared. Wise alignment waits for both sides to be ready. Some things do not fail, they simply return later, strengthened. Discernment lets you release without fear, trusting that what is real does not dissolve when space is needed. Sit with your decisions until peace speaks. Ask quietly, does this strengthen who I am becoming? Does this honor the tenderness I fought to reclaim? Peace will confirm rather than confuse. And when it does, you will step forward without questioning yourself. No trembling, no rushing, no apology. You will move with grounded assurance, knowing discernment did not take something from you, discernment preserved what is worthy of your presence. There is a quiet ledger that heaven keeps, not marked with ink, but with intention. Every moment you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness, an entry was made. Every time you offered kindness when you were exhausted, another line formed. These deposits were subtle, invisible to those around you, sometimes invisible even to yourself, yet they accumulated like interest that only increases with time. When you stood steady after being misunderstood, that was a deposit. When you decided to heal instead of harden, that was a deposit. When you gave patience, though impatience echoed loudly within you, that was a deposit too. You imagined progress required dramatic victories, loud affirmations, clear recognition. Yet growth was recorded in the small places. When you listened without interrupting. When you prayed for someone who caused you pain. When you walked away instead of wounding back. When you chose responsibility over resentment. When you stayed, not because you were trapped, but because you believed in preservation. You were depositing strength, wisdom, spiritual currency. Some days the ledger seemed empty, because nothing external confirmed your effort. But invisibility never meant insignificance. Heaven acknowledged what people overlooked. When you apologized sincerely, even though the other person refused to meet you with equal grace, heaven wrote that apology into your future reconciliation. When you handled disappointment without collapsing into self-punishment, heaven marked that endurance. And when you held hope gently, even while uncertainty stretched long, heaven honored that patience. There were seasons when you felt unseen. You gave support, encouragement, presence, and none of it returned in equal measure. Yet every offering was recorded. Not because heaven needed proof, but because your heart needed validation you could not yet articulate. You taught yourself compassion through repetition. You taught yourself resilience through weary days. You taught your spirit how to stretch without breaking. And look at what you deposited: compassion that matured into discernment, loyalty that refined itself into healthy boundaries, generosity that stretched beyond material giving. You deposited integrity when no one was watching. You deposited wisdom each time you learned instead of resented. You deposited courage every time you tried again. Imagine that ledger being opened now. Imagine heaven reading it not aloud, but with reverence. Nothing wasted. Nothing erased. Nothing forgotten. All those quiet deposits are now converting into clarity, confidence, inner steadiness, peace that does not waver when opinions shift. You may not have seen the accumulation while you were living it, but heaven did. So stand gently in this moment. You do not need validation to prove what has been stored. What you invested emotionally will return not as applause, but as alignment. You will not chase belonging, belonging will meet you. What once drained you will no longer find access. And when peace rises, you will understand that nothing you gave was lost. Every deposit became part of who you have become, someone steady, someone rooted, someone deeply equipped to receive what is finally ready. Place your hand gently over your heart now, not with urgency, but with intention. Feel the warmth beneath your palm as a reminder that you are alive, present, and worthy of being cared for. Let your shoulders soften, let your breath slow, and simply allow this moment to hold you. You have carried burdens, expectations, and stories about yourself that were heavier than you admitted. So for now, let your hand speak a language of release, resting against the very place that has endured so much. Whisper quietly, even if only inside your thoughts, I allow what no longer serves me to leave. Say it with kindness, not rejection. You are not discarding parts of yourself, you are letting go of weight that was never meant to stay. When you exhale, imagine the heaviness dissolving, not falling away violently, but dissolving like fog returning to morning air. Feel the chest expand without force. Feel the ribs stretch slightly as space becomes available again. Close your eyes if it feels natural. Sense the warmth moving deeper, as though your hand is reminding your heart that softness is safe again. You have been strong for so long that tenderness may feel unfamiliar, yet tenderness is what restores you. Breathe into that realization. You do not need to prove anything while your palm rests where truth lives. Now, speak this simple prayer aloud or silently. Let peace settle where burden once lived. Allow that prayer to echo until it feels true. Let the words shape the atmosphere around you, like a soft blanket wrapping your shoulders. There is no requirement to understand the future. There is only permission to stop carrying what has outgrown its purpose. Keep breathing. Let the exhale lower your shoulders further. Let the inhale widen your heart space. Feel how your hand no longer presses, but rests. The body understands safety before the mind catches up. Let that knowing rise. It was never meant to be heavy. You simply did not know when to set it down, and that is not failure. It is awareness arriving at the right moment. Say quietly, I release what drains me. Then pause. Let the stillness receive those words. You do not need emotional fireworks to validate release. Sometimes release is simply deciding to stop rehearsing pain. Place that decision under your hand now. Keep your palm there for one more slow breath. Imagine light moving inward, filling the hollow spaces where strain once lived. Let it spread into your shoulders, down your spine, through your stomach. Your body will remember this moment. And later, When familiar weight tries to return, all you will need to do is place your hand here again. Peace will answer, because peace always recognizes where it has lived before. And as you breathe once more, know that release is not an event but a gentle permission that unfolds gradually, moment by moment, breath by breath, until your heart no longer remembers the weight it once carried. Fully. You will notice it first in your breath before anything changes around you. Your inhale will land differently, deeper, steadier, as though the air itself carries relief. You will wake without bracing for something unresolved, and that subtle softness will feel like the quiet notification that something has been restored. It will not be dramatic at first. Restoration rarely arrives with noise, it arrives with ease. The emotional drought that once made everything feel uphill will begin dissolving, and flow will replace friction. Conversations that once knotted your chest will loosen. Decisions that once felt overwhelming will organize themselves gently. You will not force clarity, clarity will sit beside you like familiar truth. Then other signs will follow. An opportunity that once intimidated you will suddenly feel manageable. You will see possibility rather than risk. You might hear from someone you thought was permanently distant, not necessarily to relive the past, but to acknowledge growth. Or a door that previously stayed shut will open quietly, without fanfare, because the timing no longer strains you. You will not need to chase what belongs. It will find you in stillness. And when it arrives, it will not demand explanation, it will simply feel aligned. You will notice your posture shift. You will stand with more presence, speak with more certainty, and soften without losing strength. You will no longer rehearse old wounds in your mind. The echo fades when the lesson is integrated. And that is another credit notification, peace replacing repetition. What once drained you will no longer hold access to your energy. Financial ease may not arrive instantly, but the tension around provision will begin lifting. Ideas will come that feel sustainable rather than impulsive. Support will surface where strain once lived. And you will not need to prove worthiness to receive it. Restoration does not negotiate, restoration recognizes. You might find yourself laughing more easily, not pretending, not performing, simply releasing. Some days will feel lighter than their circumstances justify, and you will know something unseen has already begun shifting. You will notice sleep deepening, thoughts slowing, interactions softening. The fog lifts gradually, like morning mist over water. Then comes the moment when peace speaks louder than old disappointment. You will reach for what blesses you without second guessing. You will decline what drains you without apology. Courage returns, not as adrenaline, but as stability. And stability is the greatest sign of restoration. You will not ask if you are ready, readiness will reveal itself through calm. And when peace anchors firmly, you will realize nothing forced is needed. The drought has passed. Flow has settled. Soon, in quiet moments, you will think back to your waiting season and see it differently. You will understand that what felt like delay was preparation. What felt withheld was preserved. And now, each gentle sign that rises, each easier breath, each lighter morning, each alignment that unfolds, will remind you that restoration did not arrive too late. It arrived precisely when you could hold it without fear, without trembling, without loss. She used to wake before sunrise, not because she wanted to, but because her heart carried an uneasiness that stirred her awake. The room felt heavy, the air unmoving, and she wondered whether life would always feel unfinished. She made coffee quietly, sat beside the window, and tried to pretend peace lived somewhere nearby. Yet inside, she rehearsed unanswered questions, replayed conversations, and replayed every moment she wished had landed differently. She whispered prayers with trembling confidence, half believing, half bracing. And though nothing looked broken, something within her sagged beneath the weight of waiting. Days passed, then weeks, and nothing appeared to shift. People around her moved forward. Opportunities aligned for others. She showed up consistently, though her smile felt borrowed. There were evenings she closed her eyes and pictured her future sealed somewhere unreachable. She called that season resignation, though she never admitted the word aloud. She thought perhaps her chance had expired. She thought alignment had chosen someone else. Yet heaven held what she assumed was gone. Then, gradually, something softened. It was not dramatic. It did not land with thunder. One afternoon she noticed the air felt lighter inside her ribcage. She breathed without strain. She laughed mid-conversation and realized she wasn't forcing it. She woke one morning and didn't rehearse fear before her feet touched the floor. Something unclenched, and though she couldn't name it, she recognized the difference. She was invited to a gathering she nearly declined. Instead, she went, not seeking anything, simply showing up as herself. A conversation unfolded gently, not rushed, not strained. Someone there said words she needed weeks earlier: "You carry peace without realizing it." That sentence rested inside her like confirmation. She felt seen without performance. Doors opened quietly afterward. They didn't swing wide, they unlocked. She received an invitation to contribute to something meaningful. Not rushed. Not pressured. It matched her readiness. She accepted without trembling. Her evenings changed. Instead of rehearsing loss, she wrote gratitude. Instead of bracing for disappointment, she prepared for possibility. Peace became something she didn't chase, it greeted her. She found herself sleeping longer, waking later, no longer startled by early fear. She no longer chased signs, signs flowed gently toward her. A repeated number, a familiar lyric, a message from someone once distant. Not promises, not declarations, simply alignment. She looked back one morning and realized she had crossed the threshold without noticing. The resignation once sitting inside her had dissolved. She understood now what had been held in trust. Nothing was delayed, it was preserved. Nothing expired, it matured. She sat again at her window with her coffee, the same place where worry once lived. Only now, she felt settled. Her prayers were not trembling, they were steady. Peace was not an idea, it was embodied. And though nothing dramatic marked the transition, she knew alignment had arrived, fitting her life gently, perfectly, and without force. May peace settle over you like a soft blanket, not heavy, but warm enough to remind you that you are held. May clarity arrive in gentle waves rather than sharp jolts. May the areas that once felt uncertain begin to open with ease, not because you forced anything, but because alignment began to recognize you. You have walked through seasons that shaped you, waded through moments that tested you, and stood in places that asked more of you than you felt ready to give. Yet here you are, softened rather than shattered, wiser rather than weary, strengthened without losing your tenderness. I speak blessing over your next steps, beloved one. May you step into them without fear of being behind. The path unfolding before you is not a race, it is a returning. May what belongs to you come gently, without confusion and without strain. May peace be your confirmation, clarity your anchor, and readiness your quiet yes. The doors that open now will not require you to shrink or compromise dignity. They will fit, they will align, and they will meet you without demanding urgency. And wherever you once felt alone, may community surround you now. Not crowds, not noise, but true companions of the heart. People who celebrate your joy without competing, who listen without judgment, who support you without expectation. You were never meant to walk your journey in silence. Healing becomes lighter when witnessed. Growth becomes grounded when shared. Let this space be a home for that. If you feel led, share something below, perhaps a word of gratitude, a quiet prayer, or simply a sentence naming what peace means to you right now. Not to prove anything, not to impress anyone, but to release what has settled inside your heart. Your voice is welcome here. Your story matters here. Your presence strengthens others in ways you may never see. And as you breathe into this closing moment, know that nothing you walked through was wasted. Everything carried you toward wholeness. Everything softened what needed softening and strengthened what needed grounding. You are stepping into an atmosphere of restoration that arrives without pressure, without expiration, without conditions. So may peace rest over you tonight, tomorrow, and in the days that follow. May your heart stay open without fear. May clarity begin to thread itself through your choices. May you know deeply that your journey is not solitary. There are those walking with you, praying with you, believing alongside you. And until you return here again, may you feel supported, guided, and gently held, knowing that restoration is not approaching, it has already begun settling quietly inside you.